What's up, y'all? I know that I talk a lot about my bills account, so in this video I just decided to do a deep dive into my bills account. My cat is screaming for something. Alright, so I just decided to do a deep dive into my bills account to explain what a bills account is, how to get it set up, as well as how I tend to manage mine. So if you are in need of an account that pays the bills for you, then keep watching. All right, so obvious disclaimer, the account is not going to pay the bills for you. You have to put the money in there, but it tends to run itself because a lot of my expenses are automated. First things first, what is a bills account and why do I have one? And just like the name sounds, it is an account for my bills. So all of my essentials, for the majority of the essentials, I have them in my bills account. Now this doesn't include, you know, gas and groceries, things like that. But what is considered like a bill? So I'm talking about, you know, your electric bill, your water bill, your auto loan, your subscriptions that you have taken out. You want to have them all in one account. And I like doing this because it got to a place where I was mixing my personal funds or my non-essential funds with my bills. And so whenever it came time for my bills to be taken out of, sometimes that would leave me in the negative because it's really difficult when it's all mixed together to decipher what part of your balance belongs to your bills and what part of your balance belongs to, you know, your spending money or things like that. And so it just makes it easier to keep the funds separate, and that way nothing is touching your bills account. This account is literally just for your bills. That is it. And I even don't recommend getting a debit card for this account. I don't have a debit card, and that is strategic because I don't want to be swiping through this account. I really don't want anything to be withdrawn from this account besides my bills that are taken out on, you know, their due dates. And I've just found that it has helped me, and I have created a buffer in this account. So anytime a bill comes under what I budgeted, I do not adjust those funds. I don't go in and take that, you know, $20. I leave it in the account to help offset higher than normal bills. So this way, whenever I have an expense that is larger than what I budgeted for, I know that I have a slush fund in that account that it can just pull from. And the account keeps itself at like a $2,200 balance because I have created this slush fund over the years, and it's not because I've been putting extra money in it. It's just because I have been leaving the excess funds outside of what I budgeted in the account, as well as my third paycheck months. You know, we tend to think those are extra paychecks. So those extra funds from those, I don't do anything with it. I keep my budget the same. So even though it's a third paycheck, whatever amount I have being pulled from my paycheck for my bills is going to get pulled over with that third paycheck, and that creates a buffer in that as well. Now, whenever you are looking for an account to open up your bills account, I always just say go with a free basic checking account. You definitely don't want a savings because there's a withdrawal limit and you're going to have a lot of transactions on this account. A free basic checking account will do as long as you have access to, you know, transfers and things like that. You are good to go, and you do not want an account that charges you fees because that literally defeats the whole purpose of you trying to get yourself ahead when it comes to your bills. And so I have a checking account with my local bank. I do not care about the features. It does not need to be fancy. I just need a free basic checking. And so that is what I recommend looking for whenever you are trying to open up an account for yourself. Don't make it super complicated. Whatever bank you bank with right now, if they have a free basic checking, just open that bad boy up. So right now you should be able to see my screen, and this is something that I did to keep myself organized. Now I have all of my expenses that are in my bills account, the amount of these expenses. Obviously I need to be a little bit more organized because I need the day of the month that these come out, and of course the category is my housing or bills. And so you'll see here that the amounts do look a little low, and that's because I did this per paycheck. So all of my expenses that come through my bills account are paid through my 9 to 5. And the way that I have it set up, so I went ahead and the monthly amount, I totaled the monthly amount up for all of my expenses, and then I divided them evenly by 2. And so that is what you see here, the amount that I divided by 2. So my total is $892.50 for that paycheck. So each paycheck has $892.50 that is automatically taken from my pay and then direct deposited into my bills account. And now obviously the total monthly amount would be $892.50 times 2, but I wanted to make sure that the amount that I have going into my bills account from each paycheck was correct, so that is why I did it this way. Now I do need to add, since some expenses have changed, I do need to add or make some adjustments. So it is, hopefully it stays wintry outside. So lawn care is done for the year. Fingers crossed that the grass does not grow anymore. And so I'm replacing this with cheer prep for my daughter. And that is $75 a month. So I need to divide that by 2 to see. $37.50. And so that puts me at $870 that now needs to be pulled from each paycheck. So what I will do is go into the platform that my employer uses, and I will just adjust the amount to $870, and that is what's now going to be direct deposited into my bills account for at least the winter time, or until, you know, I have another expense that needs to be adjusted. So when you write down all of your expenses, whether that's spreadsheet, pen and paper, just whatever your preference is, when you write down all of your expenses, the amount of each expense, and I do recommend starting with the monthly amount. I have the half payment method, obviously, but sometimes it takes a little while to work yourself up to the half payment method, because as these bills start coming out, if you don't have enough in that account, it can easily put you in the negative, and then you are drowning in overdraft fees. So if you want to start with the half payment method, I recommend starting with a few expenses at a time, just to give yourself time to kind of put yourself ahead, at least by a paycheck, before you start adding in other expenses to keep yourself from getting to a scary amount in that account. All right, so you'll have your expenses, once again, the amount of your expenses, and you want to start with a monthly amount. Then if you want half payment, divide it by 2 or just divide it amongst how many paychecks that you get in a month. And then the day of the month, and this is going to be good when you are trying to figure out if you're going to have enough in your account, which I'll show you here in a minute. And then this is just extra fluff, the category, because it's all going into one account. Okay, so in this financial dashboard, there's an account balance estimator that I created just for this, because I am that person, like, I need to be able to, there are pets everywhere, just... Jeez. Okay, I think we're good. So please ignore the dog and the cat. So I created this tab specifically for my wants and needs, and then I added it to the financial dashboard because I like estimating where my account is going to be, whether I'm using the half payment method or if I'm adding in some new expenses that need to be pulled from my bills account. And so here, I did do a good breakdown in one of my videos. Now it is super long, but it is super helpful. So I will link it up here, and it just helps you to see when you can safely start the half payment method. If you want to go that route, which I love, it keeps one paycheck from being too bill heavy and the other one from not being bill heavy enough. So mentally you can kind of see how that would cause a problem if you have one paycheck which is the one that takes the first half of the month's expenses, because most expenses do come out, you know, on the first, or, you know, the first week or two of the month. And so that paycheck that has to cover those expenses is typically going to be more what I call bill heavy, because it has more expenses that it has to cover than the other one. And I hated feeling super tight, super squeezed when one paycheck came in. It was like I was left with $20. And then the other paycheck, I felt like I was balling. And that made me think that I had more money than I actually did. And the other paycheck made me think that I had less money than I actually did. So I needed a way to even them both out. And the half payment method has honestly saved me. But I am salary, so keep that in mind. It can work if you are not salary. I've had clients in which we've done that for them, because we created a baseline amount for their budget, which is just an amount that we knew they were going to be guaranteed. And so based on that baseline amount, you want to put in the expenses that are a must. Like, you have to have them paid: rent, mortgage, you know, your utilities. And then whatever comes extra in that paycheck, if it is, great, you know, work it in your budget. If you are a little less, then you may have to go straight to your non-essentials and adjust those. But either way it goes, your expenses, that amount is not really going to change. So here you will add in your expense. Let's say we want to start on a specific day, like 11/1 of 23, I don't know. And we have our mortgage that's going to be coming out. That mortgage is $950, and that's paid on the 1st. So starting balance, let's say right now in our bills account, we would have an amount of $400. That's over there. So we know this is what we started with, $400. We paid $950, and so we would be in the negative, okay, if we just started paying that expense out on the 1st. So let's say we also get paid on the 1st. You'll put in your deposits too, and we got paid $1,500. Obviously that's going to put us back up. And let's see, so we had our paycheck, and then next what comes out, let's say electric comes out for $160. That comes out on the 6th. And then we have our water bill. You can kind of catch my drift here. That comes out maybe on the 8th. What is happening? Auto loan is $350, and that comes out let's say on the 15th. And based on our expenses and how we want to split them up, we know that we need to put in $1,500 every single time. And so we have another paycheck that comes through after these expenses are paid, and that is $1,500 again, based on what we've calculated for our expenses. So whatever else comes out after this, we're gonna know that at least we're in the positive, and you know, we could pay for it. So we're still looking at a good positive balance, but you kind of catch my drift on this. Go in, plug in your expenses based on the due dates and how much you have budgeted for these. Every time you get paid, keep it in order when it comes to the date, so you have an accurate overview of what your balance is going to be. And so if you have an expense, put that expense in on the 1st and the 2nd and the 3rd. If you get paid on the 5th, put that paycheck in. That way you can see, if I keep up with this route when it comes to this direct deposit and these withdrawals, am I going to be safe in my bills account? And now the way that I make my bills account run on its own is just every single thing is automated. And now this is just if you are a person that has enough in the account, which, like I've showed you, you know that you're gonna have enough in your account, you're a little bit ahead, and you are just someone who prefers to pay your bills through auto pay. So I have mine obviously direct deposited, so when I get paid, I have this specific amount withdrawn from my paycheck, direct deposited into my bills account, and then these expenses are on auto pay. So they are automatically withdrawn on their due date. And now I've been budgeting for years. So these amounts, I'm pretty sure of these amounts, they always work for me. And so once again, I have that confidence in myself. But if you are someone who is just now starting out with this and you are not used to auto pay, continue to pay your bills manually, and that way you'll start to get into the groove of things and see how much things are going to cost you, how it's going to affect your account balance based on, you know, the frequency of your paychecks. And then once you start getting into your groove, you can start adding certain expenses to your auto pay list. So I have certain expenses like my daughter's cheer prep class that unfortunately I could not set up through the bills account. So I always have to make a transfer once that payment posts to the credit card, and then I will pay the expense that way. So it's kind of like on auto pay, but kind of not. And with certain credit cards, you can set it up to where a certain amount will come to your credit card based on the frequency that you choose. I do need to go ahead and stop being lazy and do that, but I have not gotten there yet because I'm just used to making the transfer from my bills account. And that is how I do mine. So I love it. It's clutch. I don't have to worry about whether or not I have enough for my bills. Thank you, God, because I always have the same amount direct deposited into that account. I already know in my head like when my bills are due because they rarely ever change. I have a few now that I'm in the house, but you know, I have some OGs too. And so I know when those are coming out. I see the notification, and the only thing that I have to do really is check in from time to time, specifically on paydays, just to make sure that my balance is good, to look through my transactions, because I know that if it's not a bill, it shouldn't have been made, and I need to see what's going on with that. And so I will just check through my transactions, make sure that the bills have not changed and I didn't receive any notification or anything, and just to make sure that my balance is good, and I keep it up in the routine just like that. I don't have to worry about, you know, oh, it's the first and I didn't make my payment. It's already being made for me. So that is peace of mind, because I am very forgetful and I have a lot going on, and so it just helps to ensure that I don't have any late fees. But if this was helpful, let me know down below. If you have a bills account, let us know how you have yours set up, and I will catch you guys in the next video.